Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so free agency, man. The Lakers only signed Jake LaRavia, and that was it. And of course, around every year, around this time of year, people are complaining about how the Lakers are striking out in free agency. Um, but when you look around at the contracts that are being given out, and to whom, if you're a little savvy about what's going to actually get you some of the bigger names and opportunities that ultimately we end up seeing, it's going to be not taking these deals on these players that have these contracts that are being signed today. Half of the contracts that were signed today are bad, and they have in mind the idea that the cap is going to go up. And because of it, it's okay to pay a guy too much now because it ain't going to be too much later, and it's like you're counting on a lot. And while that could be the case, at the end of the day, man, I'm not about to spend $64 million 4-year commitment on a role player, bro. I'm not doing that. If I actually want to be big spenders when it's time for me to go strike a deal that's of the likes of Luka, it's me not doing that put me in a position to be able to make a deal like that. You can see a big old contract like what you saw today given to certain players. You can't trade that stuff for anything good. You're gonna have to attach draft picks to get rid of some of them contracts, just like you saw today with Michael Porter Jr. And so for me, it's like I just want people to understand something, and this is something that if you follow me, you probably already understand. We don't buy just what everybody puts in front of us. You can slap a price tag on some old shoes that have been worn down and stink, and if it's the first day of the opening, you have people telling you need to be buying something, or why'd you walk out of that room empty? All they were selling was old shoes at 3 times the price. You would rather me walk out of there empty-handed because they weren't selling anything good, and that is exactly what I see on the agent market right now. Nothing good, bunch of trash. This is the reality of the NBA right now. If people have something that's worth having, they're not letting it hit free agency. That's the reality of it. Stuff that you really, really want, you gotta trade to get. You gotta give up something good to get it, or you gotta already have it. And what does already have it actually mean? It means drafting it. It means that taking the chance of it either being a bust or working out, going through the process of developing great stuff so it'll be on your roster and somebody else can spend an arm and a leg trying to get it off of you. That's the only way. So when we give away draft picks, whether it be first round or second round, we're simply saying that we're willing to overpay for whatever good thing we ultimately get, because we're definitely not willing to assure that it's in our possession from the start. This is why I appreciated us trading up to get Abdul Thero. Because guess what? Now we get to go through the process of developing him. And if we turn him into what it is we're supposed to turn him into, understanding that the risk could be he flops. But if we turn him into what it is we're supposed to turn him into, guess what somebody's going to have to do to get him from us? Give up all types of picks and all different types of stuff they don't want to give up in order to get him. Pay him all types of 10 times more money than he's worth in order to get him. We got his bird rights. And this is why I always say we need to value draft picks and bubble equity, as I've already described a million times. You want to get stuff in the door through you. That way, if somebody gonna come and get it off of you, they gotta go through hell to do it. And so this is why I think teams who got it, who are trying to succeed, who actually are succeeding, usually playing it through the draft. If you look at the OKC Thunder, they're the pinnacle right now. Everything they got, they either got it through the draft themselves, mortgage picks that were ultimately handed to them by people who were dumb enough to take stuff off of them and give them picks for it. You know what I mean? And anything they got in free agency were just guys that fit their situation, who likely were happy to go there because they were already rich in talent. You can't be afraid of the risk of things flopping. That's what it really comes down to. You got to have yourself in the ready position to develop talent. get it through the draft, bring it into your situation, and leave little room for it not to succeed by making good decisions the first time around with these players, scouting properly, having the right system in place for them to succeed, drafting them with the intention of bringing them to a situation that's good for them, and being patient with them and making sure they get to where they're going. And the risk is it doesn't work out. The risk is they take on early injuries. The risk is they sign away. But at the end of the day, it's those who are willing to take that risk that ultimately see the most benefit. And the teams who don't are on the outside looking in, hoping somebody will just sign with them, or hoping they can take somebody away from a situation they're used to, that they're happy in a lot of situations. That doesn't work out. So that's what I wanted to say to all you guys. The free agency, the NBA is too smart of a league to let something great actually hit free agency for you to sign, let alone at half price. And so what you end up seeing is is the cream of the crop of free agency being role players or regular starters. And then what ends up happening is people get this idea that they need to be buying something in the store. And so they end up spending 3 times more than what they should for something that's not worth half of that. And what you end up seeing is throughout these season, 2-3 seasons from now, these 4-year contracts, teams are trying to unload these things. These bad contracts, you start seeing people, you hear rumors about these guys being moved, and sometimes you will realize that the trade deadlines passes without these guys being moved because they were on these trash contracts to begin with. Being the first one out the gate signing stuff is not always a good thing. One of the worst free agencies the Lakers ever had, they were the first one to sign anybody. And that was the Mozgov year. First thing that was done, as soon as free agency hit, we signed Mozgov. Then we signed Luol Deng. You know, we were holding on to those contracts for 8-9 years, trying to pay them people off. Like, no, man. Don't allow the psychology of seeing people buy things psych you into thinking your team need to be buying something that ain't worth the price, that ain't going to get you where you're going, that ultimately you're going to be dying to unload later on. It's the nature of the business. I'm not mad at Rob Pelinka for not spending what those guys are asking for. Those guys ain't worth half of that. It's like a good 90% of the players, I'm just being honest, a good 90% of the players signed today shouldn't have been given what they were given. 90%. Those are all bad contracts. And it's simply because people have done a great job of making sure great stuff doesn't hit the market. And the psychology of trying to fill your roster up with stuff has a lot of these owners paying for stuff that ain't worth it just so they can feel like they're going to be good enough to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder when they're not going to be. That's the reality of it. They ain't going to. These teams that spend all this money today, they're not going to be good enough to beat a team that didn't have any problems keeping talent because they weren't afraid of the risk of developing talent. You're not going to beat that team. Sorry, you're not. The Clippers made sure that the Oklahoma City Thunder were going to thrive right now because they gave them all the stuff they needed to do it, and the Thunder were smart enough to keep their own stuff and developed all of those things together to put themselves in a position to dominate the era we're in right now. They developed all those players. They went through the trials of not being any good. They've slow burned it through some tanking seasons and developing seasons, and now look at them. The NBA champions, probably going to be champions again this year. Teams that are trying to fast track it or half-ass it are not going to go anywhere. They're picking up guys that are in their mid-30s, and they're going to send them out there to go up against Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City going to rock them in the mouth. It's going to be over. Night, out in 5 at best. Some of these teams, they're not doing nothing, man. These owners aren't that bright, man. They go into a room, they see a bunch of garbage with price tags on it, and they want to spin so they can say they bought something, but you ain't buying nothing worth having. And your team is trash, bro. Your team is trash. You think your team is good, but that dude gonna be hurt. You just spent $50 million on him for 4 years. He gonna spend most of that contract on the IR. I'm telling you, man. Just because someone opens a store and slaps price tags on stuff they pulled out of the toilet does not mean that you need to be buying something. You don't need to be buying nothing when you walk in there. You need to walk out of there with your money and your dignity. And never forget that. BDF 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.